Hey, we're going to start with section 8 of chapter 1, understanding the times, and we're going to sit with my dog because he is feeling alone. So there you go. I hope you enjoy. Section 8. There it is. Ideas spread like viruses. In the 1950s, a professor at Yale University named William McGuire developed a theory about how people come to embrace the ideas they find compelling. His insights can help us understand how we might come to adopt good ideas and oppose bad ones. McGuire theorized that ideas are actually very much like viruses, spreading from person to person. In our fallen and increasingly indiscriminate culture, bad ideas lamentably take root more easily than good ones. Thus, effective leaders must play a dangerous game. They must engage not only in building up good ideas, but also in rooting out bad ones. How is it possible to do this without being incurably infected by the very ideas they hope to stand against? Medical research in the mid-20th century demonstrated that a human body can develop immunity to a disease through the process of inoculation, which introduces to the body a weakened form of a disease to give the body's natural defense mechanism time to develop immunity to it. Professor McGuire wondered whether the same theory would hold true for resisting bad ideas. To test his inoculation theory, McGuire exposed subjects to widely accepted claims such as, people should brush their teeth daily. He then exposed them to counterclaims. For example, brushing your teeth is bad for you. After preparing test groups with varying levels of defense, there was no preparation. Here's an argument, see what you think. Reinforcement of previous preparation. You know that brushing your teeth is good, right? Warning of attack. You will be exposed to a persuasive argument that brushing your teeth is bad. Inoculation. You will hear an argument stating that brushing your teeth wipes away saliva, which is the tooth's natural protective agent. Inoculation plus refutation. When you hear the argument that brushing your teeth is bad because it wipes away saliva, keep in mind that saliva cannot dislodge prepared foods from the teeth. Only a brush can consistently do that. Lastly, inoculation plus refutation plus preparation. You now know one argument you'll hear to persuade you that brushing your teeth is bad, but you'll be presented with several arguments, and it will be up to you to think them through and refute them. In the end, the most effective strategy for resisting counter-persuasion, as you might guess, was the last one, inoculation plus refutation plus preparation. The least effective strategy was reinforcement of previous preparation. In fact, more people in this test condition believe the false argument than those in the no preparation condition. That people who have been equipped with the truth could so easily fall for falsehoods is a stunning result. To the extent this research applies to social and political beliefs, we can conclude the following. For people to believe a claim, they must be prepared to defend it against its challengers. Merely repeating a message over and over again, even with increasing fervency, emotion, and clever staging, is actually counterproductive, worse than no preparation at all. The antidote to indoctrination is to tell the truth, expose people to the lies that would deceive them, show them how to refute those lies, and prepare them with the thinking skills necessary to continue resisting falsehoods. This begins by understanding the worldviews, the patterns of ideas, beliefs, convictions, and habits that rule the world today. Again, there are 6: Christianity, Islam, secularism, Marxism, New Spirituality, and postmodernism. Let's dig in. So section 9, the 6 worldviews, and this is just going to be a summary of them. As we noted earlier, a worldview is a pattern of ideas, beliefs, convictions, and habits that help us make sense of God, the world, and our relationship to God and the world. If you know a worldview's assumptions, you can more accurately guess what its adherents believe and why. There may be hundreds of worldviews operating today. Even some well-known ones, such as Judaism, have relatively few, around 13 million, relatively few followers worldwide, but many bizarre and even humorous worldviews have attracted followers. As the London Telegraph reported, 176,632 people in 2012 National Census of England and Wales considered their religious affiliation to be the Jedi Knights. Another 6,242 said they worshipped heavy metal music. Obviously, we can't cover every worldview that has attracted followers, so we're going to look at the 6 worldviews that make up the vast majority of the world's population and are evangelistic, meaning they invite everyone else to join them. Christianity. More than 2 billion people in the world claim to be Christians, nearly 1/3 of the world's population. What they mean by Christian, of course, varies widely. Some people claim to be Christians because their parents were Christian or because they live in a predominantly Christian country. Still, no one doubts that Christianity is a dominant influence in the world. Christianity goes back to the teachings of Jesus Christ, the Messiah prophesied for centuries among the Israelites in the Old Testament. Christians believe that God has revealed himself in the Bible as well as in nature, but especially in the person of Jesus Christ. Because Jesus Christ was God incarnate, or God as a human being, his life is at the center of the human story. Christianity has had a profound influence on the world. French philosopher Luc Ferry, a non-believer, claims that Christianity alone established the idea that because we are made in the image of the Creator, all human persons have rights. Famed British atheist Bertrand Russell said something similar. What the world needs is Christian love or compassion. Whether or not Russell acknowledged it, such love and compassion result directly from following in the footsteps of Christ himself, the epitome of love and compassion. The Christian worldview offers a narrative of all history. This narrative starts with God's special creation of human beings, delves into the consequences of their fall from grace, and promises redemption through the sacrificial death of Jesus on the cross and his subsequent resurrection. Islam. Islam began September 24th in AD 622, when 70 Muhajirin, we're going to go with that, pledged loyalty to an Arabian leader from Mecca who had fled to Medina and began receiving special revelations from Allah. The trader's name, Muhammad. His submission to God gave his religion its name. Islam means submission. Those who submit to Allah and his prophet Muhammad are called Muslims. Islam is based on a creed prayed aloud 5 times a day, and this is the creed: there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. Muslims believe that their holy book, the Quran, is God's full and final revelation. The Quran specifies 5 things a person must do to become a Muslim. Number 1, repeat, there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. Pray the Salat, a ritual prayer 5 times a day. Fast during the month of Ramadan. Give 1/40 of one's income to the needy. If able, make a pilgrimage to Mecca. According to Serge Trifkovich, Islam is not a mere religion. It is a complete way of life, an all-embracing social, political, and legal system that breeds a worldview peculiar to itself. Islam has grown rapidly in the last few decades. 1.6 billion people in the world now claim to be adherents. New spirituality. What we term new spirituality is perhaps the most difficult worldview to precisely define. You don't have to sign, recite, or proclaim anything in particular to join, nor must you attend a church. While unofficial in its dogma, that's its beliefs, the New Age culture contains an extensive set of beliefs that, once understood, predict what people with those beliefs will value and how they will act. New spirituality is a free-flowing combination of Eastern religions, paganism, and pseudoscience that pops up in odd places. Some of the best-selling books of all time by authors such as Deepak Chopra, Rhonda Byrne, Marilyn Ferguson, and Shakti Gawain describe a world spiritual in nature but not governed by a personal, all-powerful God. Rather, the spirituality in the world is consciousness, an energy in which we all participate and can even learn to control. Talk show host Oprah Winfrey has admitted to holding many of these beliefs. We will study new spirituality not because it is deeply philosophical or consistent, but because some of its associated beliefs, such as karma, Gaia, being one with the environment, reincarnation, meditation, holistic health, and so forth, are a daily part of life for millions of Americans and have influenced such academic areas as psychology and medicine. Secularism. Secularism comes from the Latin word secularis, roughly meaning of men, or of this world, or of this time. Secularists believe humans are the center of reality. They disdain the influence of those who believe in ideas of gods, an afterlife, or anything beyond what we can sense. The primary identifying characteristic of secularism is its non-belief in other worldviews. Ironically, though, secularists do generally have an agreed-upon set of beliefs about the cause, nature, and purpose of the universe. So even though they view their beliefs as the opposite of religion, they're actually quite religious. Interestingly, in the 20th century, several fairly well-known philosophers such as John Dewey and Julian Huxley, and later Paul Kurtz and Corliss Lamont combined the term secular, we are for the world, and the term humanism, we are for humans, and developed a philosophy of secular humanism. Their manifesto, published in 1933 and updated in 1973 and 2000, led thousands of like-minded individuals to form a club called the American Humanist Association, whose motto is good without a God. With no apparent sense of irony, the AHA operates as a tax-exempt organization based on the IRS Section 501c3, religious nonprofit exemption. Though its founders have passed away, the AHA still recruits members. Their dues support a publishing company and a monthly publication. We will discuss secularism and the secular humanist movement more in coming chapters, but it is sufficient for now to recognize secularism as an umbrella term for a set of beliefs the vast majority of academics today accept unquestioningly. We use the term secularism as a prediction, not a label. If someone accepts a secularist viewpoint on such disciplines as theology, philosophy, and ethics, we can predict fairly accurately what they believe about biology, psychology, and so forth. Marxism. Some religious worldviews develop over hundreds or thousands of years, but others are made up whole cloth in a very short period of time. Such is the case with Marxism and its offshoots, Leninism, Maoism, Trotskyism, Fabian socialism, and the various socialist organizations that operate in the United States and around the world. Marxism was invented by Karl Marx, the scholar determined to demonstrate that ownership of private property, the basis for capitalism, was the root of the world's evils. To Marx, history could be defined as a struggle between the haves, or the owners, and the have-nots, or the workers. If only the workers would rise up to overthrow the owners, they could form a workers' paradise in which all wrongs are righted, all possessions are shared, and all injustices are brought to an end. The utopian state at the end of this long and bloody struggle is called communism. People who strive to bring about this state are called communists, and their Bible is the Communist Manifesto, Marx's most famous and enduring work. Other such manifestos are still in print today, including the teachings of Chinese Communist leader Mao Zedong, and I never say that right, so I apologize, and a book published by Harvard University Press called Empire. Some say it's pointless to include Marxism as a dominant worldview in this volume, but we disagree. Despite the collapse of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, or the USSR, which dominated what is now called Russia, around 20% of the world's population still lives under the rule of communists. The largest communist country in the world today is China. In spite of its growing industry, China's communist rulers are still very much in control. And when we also consider countries operating on the principles Marx taught but not using the label communist, We are talking about a majority of the world's population living every day with the consequences of Marx's philosophies. As we will see, despite its clearly atheistic philosophy, Marxism has also made many inroads into the church. Some evangelicals involved in the so-called Christian left have embraced key tenets of Marxism. Lastly, postmodernism. People talk about postmodern art, postmodern architecture, and even postmodern ways of doing church, and yet they don't realize that postmodernism is a well-thought-out and deep philosophical worldview. The father of postmodernism, German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, had many disciples, including Jacques Derrida, Michael Foucault, Martin Heidegger, Jean-Francois Lyotard, and Richard Rorty. All are now dead, but their teachings strongly influence higher education to this day. We will learn more about the complexities of postmodernism throughout this volume. In short, though, we can say postmodernism began as a reaction against modernism, which is the idea that science and human reason can solve humankind's most pressing problems. While science can be used for great good, postmodernists understand it to be hopelessly corrupted by the quest for power. It was scientific progress, for example, that enabled the creation of weapons of mass destruction. According to postmodernists, the modern story of science and technology is one of many attempts to formulate what's called a meta-narrative, or grand story of reality that claims universally valid God's eye view, pristine knowledge of the world. Postmodernists say meta-narratives become so compelling that people stop questioning them, and it's precisely then that they become destructive and oppressive. Postmodernists are generally suspicious of all modern meta-narratives because they are so often used as tools of oppression. Many postmodernists engage in a process of examining exactly what causes people to fall under the spell of various meta-narratives. This is called deconstruction. The way deconstruction works on meta-narratives is similar to someone revealing how a magic trick is done. In the revealing, people stop being deceived. Postmodernists believe deconstructing dominant meta-narratives causes them to lose their stranglehold on people's minds. We'll see, though, that postmodernists have been carried away by their own ideas, calling everything into question, even the idea that we can know reality itself. So there you have it. Christianity, Islam, New Spirituality, Secularism, Marxism, and Postmodernism. By understanding these 6 worldviews, we'll see how people come to grips with the rules of the world and form patterns they hope will answer life's ultimate goals. We'll stop there for a minute.